Hey guys, Jeremy here, and today I wanted to take a little bit of time to talk about PlayStation VR and really what the experience has been like for me as a person who's had a little bit of experience with VR before using things like the Samsung Gear VR and how PlayStation VR works for someone like myself that wears glasses and how that could affect the experience in a positive or a negative way. I've seen a lot of reviews on PlayStation VR and they cover a lot of cool things, but I just wanted to touch on some things that I personally experienced from the first time I took it out of the box to what I'm currently experiencing. So maybe if you have some concerns or some questions about some of those types of things, maybe this video will be able to help you out a little bit. So I purchased PlayStation VR about a week ago, last Sunday to be exact, and I bought the core bundle of PlayStation VR that just comes with the headset here and all the little cables and all the things that you need in order to make it work, with the exception of the PlayStation camera, which you got to buy separately, and PlayStation Move, which is not required for this whole thing to work, but it is highly recommended since some games either work better with the two Move controllers or they require two Move controllers. But at this time, there's not a lot of games that require you to have Move. So if you probably wanted to hold off on that for a little while, not too long, but for a little while, you'll probably be able to get away with that. But fortunately, I already had a PlayStation 4 camera from a while ago, and I still have one of my Move controllers from even longer ago. So all I had to do was purchase another Move controller. It still holds a charge, and I got it used, and it was like $25, so I was good to go. So let's just go over some of the more pertinent facts here, and let's start off with graphics and resolution. So if you have never experienced anything in virtual reality before, this might be something that if you don't know going in, you could find yourself maybe getting a little bit disappointed with. And you have to know that when you put on that headset, it's not like you're going to be looking at a mirrored image of your 60-inch television in 1080p, full high definition. Everything is clean, crisp, clear, beautiful. It's not like that in virtual reality, at least not yet, because the technology isn't there yet, and especially in the PlayStation 4's case, it's just not powerful enough to crank out some resolution of that much clarity when you have this headset that is probably like this close to your face. You're going to take a hit when it comes to resolution. And the same can be said for the Oculus Rift, the same can be said for the HTC Vive, the same can be said for just about any consumer grade virtual reality experience on the market today. Now, that doesn't mean that what you're going to be looking at is some really horrible graphics and horrible resolution. No, it's not going to be like that at all. But it is going to be a noticeable step down in that when you look at text, it may seem a little jaggy at times. Not so much that it's unreadable, but it's not going to be as crisp. It's not going to be as smooth as you would see if you weren't wearing a VR headset and you're just looking at your television screen. And when you see those jaggies, you might notice that the resolution is a little bit of a dip, like your television accidentally reverted itself to like a little bit over 720p, and you're like, that doesn't quite look the way that I remember it. But that's just the way it is. And it also kind of depends on the type of game that you're playing. Games that really want some realistic, this is kind of what the real world would look like. Games like Eve Valkyrie that go for that more realistic art style. You're going to notice that the resolution is not quite as high, more so in a game like that, than you would in, say, something like Playroom VR, where everything is nicely animated and it's bright and it's colorful, and that artistic style lends itself, in my opinion, much better to VR these days because you can sort of hide the imperfections of graphics and resolution with a good art style. So basically, the more realistic and true to life you try to get, the more you start to see through some of the flaws. But if you have a very creative art style, then you can actually start getting away with it. So don't have your expectations super high to the ceiling when it comes to resolution, because it is not going to be as good as your television screen, but it is still decent enough to look at in virtual reality these days. Now, the other thing I want to touch on for people who wear glasses is how comfortable is this headset when you're wearing glasses, and how easy is it for you to put on and have everything be cool and crisp and awesome? Well, let's talk about that for a moment. As you can see, I wear glasses. And this headset, while it does help people with glasses wear it, unfortunately, we are going to miss out on some of the immersion as a result of the glasses. And I'm going to give you like a little bit of an example here. I'm going to take my glasses off, so there's nothing obstructing my face, and I'm just going to put on this headset the way that, they instructed. So we're going to lift that up. We're going to pull this back, put on the headset, and there's a little button under here that you can push, and it pushes the front piece in and out, and I can push it this far to my face and let it go, and I am good to go. And mostly everything is blacked out at this point. You would have to adjust it so that everything can look clear to you. But as of right now, I don't see anything up top. I don't see anything along the sides. And I see a little bit of light leaking from the bottom. But then again, I have on a lot of lights here. But I am almost completely submersed in darkness. It's about 95% dark in here. And that is a great benefit for people who don't wear glasses, because you can really get your face in there. And unfortunately, my eyes are so bad, I can't use this headset without glasses because everything is going to look blurry. I think the general rule is if you can see about 6 feet in front of you without glasses, then maybe you'll be good not wearing glasses with PlayStation VR. But if your eyesight is worse than that, you're going to need to wear your glasses. Now, this is where the difference comes in. So I'm going to try to do the exact same thing that I did before. Okay. But I can't push the headset much closer to my face right now. Now, for me personally, I know that I'm going to have to take this back piece and lift it up a little bit so that it can cover my entire face. And I can only push it about this far. It's actually touching the lens of my glasses. And as a result, I can see more light coming in through the left and more light coming in through the right. And of course, the space at the bottom has gotten a little bit bigger because my glasses are obstructing the headset's ability to push itself directly into my face. So if you're wearing glasses, you're not going to be as sucked into the experience as you probably would want to be, simply because your glasses are obstructing the headset's ability to really wrap your face around those lenses. And does that ruin the experience in any way? No, it does not ruin the experience, but it is something to keep in mind, because even though I can't see well without my glasses, I did try using it without my glasses, and I can tell you, looking at some of the things, I do feel like, I feel like I'm actually more there now without my glasses than I felt with my glasses on. I actually felt like things were coming over me and going down in front of me, and I was getting a real good look at things, and it really felt like, I feel like I'm really there. But without it, things feel a little bit pushed forward when you're wearing glasses. So it kind of hurts your immersion a little bit on that level. So just keep that in mind if you're wearing glasses. And of course, the bigger your glasses are, the more they jut out. If you got those really big, hipster type glasses, then your experience might be a little bit worse than someone who has a smaller frame for their glasses. You should also know that really, no matter how your eyes are, you have to know that not everyone's eyes are the same. Our eyes are shaped differently. We see things differently. So when you put on the headset, everything might not be as clean and clear as you would want it to be, because you have to do some fine tuning. You have to make some type of adjustment to it. So even if that means taking the headset and moving it just a little bit to the left, a little bit to the right, a little bit up, a little bit down, you have to do what you have to do in order to get a clear picture. And it's going to be different for everybody. There's no surefire way to get a clear picture, because you can go in and you can mess with the pupillary distance setting all you want. But if you don't have the headset on your head properly so that your individual eyes can see things clearly, messing with those settings all you want is not going to change a thing. You have to make sure that it's on your head right, and then you can start messing around with those things. Well, it doesn't hurt to get your pupillary distance from your optometrist if you want, so that you can dial in and get more specifically what the headset will recommend as far as like the depth that you see and things like that. You also have to make sure that you keep those lenses clean. Do not put any type of liquid, alcohol. Don't use that to clean the lenses. Just don't. They supply you with a nice, soft microfiber cloth, and you use that to clean the lenses. But over time, the grease, the oil, all that stuff, the moisture from your nice human face is going to get all on those lenses, and you can wipe it all you want, that microfiber cloth, and it just won't seem to come clean. You'll still see those smudges, and it might make everything in VR just look a little more hazy than what it should be. And that's why I recommend that you pick up something like this. Now, this is called a lens pen. This is the Nikon lens pen. And the reason why I trust the Nikon lens pen is because Nikon is one of the biggest manufacturers of the world of glass related to camera lenses, telescopes, medical equipment. That is a brand that you can definitely trust. And this is used to clean lenses that cost thousands and thousands of dollars. You know, one good professional Nikon lens can cost you more than it would cost to get a PC and an Oculus Rift that can work together in harmony. You get all the cool stuff. One Nikon lens will cost you as much as that entire setup. That is how expensive that glass gets. And if this is good enough for that glass, then this is good enough for your PlayStation VR glass. So the way that this works, it's actually got two different functions. So it has this little switch right here, and when you press this up, this nice little fine brush comes out. And this is what you're going to want to use first. You use this to just dust off your lenses because you never know. It could be like little specks of dirt that might be in there, and if you immediately just start rubbing it like that, you might run the risk of scratching the coating on the lens. So you want to make sure you brush it off first, get rid of any abrasive thing that might be on there that can scratch the lens. And then on the other side, there's this little tool right here. And what you do is you just use nice little circular motions along the lens. And then you can, if you hold it up to the light, you can actually see the smudges disappearing as you clean it. So use this as often as you feel is necessary in order to keep your vision in PlayStation VR nice and clean. I got this from Amazon. I think it costs like less than $8. So it is not expensive. There are other brands that you can use as well to satisfy your lens pen needs, but I personally go with Nikon because Nikon is Nikon, and Nikon knows how to take care of glass. So that's why I decided to go with Nikon in this regard. Next thing is about games, because if we don't support this and if developers don't support it, then PlayStation VR will just be another expensive peripheral that no one cares about anymore. Kind of like Kinect, unfortunately, kind of like how the Vita went and how PlayStation Move ended up before PlayStation VR came into the picture. Now, there are a decent amount of games available right now, but let me tell you, once you get this system, it's not going to feel like there's that many games because you're going to be going through all of them. The headset does come with the demo disc. The demo disc does give you a decent amount of games to try, although ironically, some of the games on the demo disc don't have demos, which is really, really weird. But the ones they do have on there will give you a good idea of what VR is capable of. Now, for me, the best experience right now in PlayStation VR that I personally had would probably be from the demo disc. It's kind of hard. It's really hard to tell. I did like this game called Rigs, which is like this multiplayer competitive mech type of game. It's like a sport, and the mechs have to jump into this goal, and it's really neat. It looks pretty good in VR too. You don't get much of a sense of, man, these graphics are terrible. It looks pretty good, though it made me a little bit nauseous, a little bit because of the way that the controls work. But I think that it's subtle enough that if you just kind of stick with it, you can kind of build an iron stomach for it. But I did like Rigs. I thought that Rigs was pretty fun. And, almost all of the demos there were very interesting to try. So the demo disc gives you a decent idea of what games you can have that are available. But there's one trend that I've noticed that I honestly kind of want to see less of moving forward, but I do understand why it's that way now. And that's horror. There are really a lopsided amount of horror games and horror experiences on PlayStation VR right now. And I wish that there were more variety, through Here They Lie and Kitchen and Rush of Blood and this other game is called the something experiment, the Brookhaven experiment, and that's just 4 off the top of my head. And, there's some others as well. And there's so many horror experiences. Weeping Doll is another one that just came out. And I kind of understand why the developers want to start with horror because when you're immersed in this world and some horrible demon jumps out in front of you and you go, that's a good sticking point for VR in the beginning, because what better way to leave an impression than scaring the living hell out of somebody? I understand that, but moving forward, I would like to see less horror titles, or at least more variety of other titles, because I feel like, if you're not a big horror fan like I am, you're going to be like, man, there's a lot of stuff out here and I'm sure that is cool, but I want to do something other than horror. And if I can suggest something, real-time strategy games, I think, would lend itself extremely well to PlayStation VR. And currently right now, we have one game that is more real-time strategy than any other one right now, and that is Tethered. Tethered is the first game that I actually bought on PlayStation VR, and it is a really good game, especially for these beginning stages of PlayStation VR. I'm going to tell you a little bit about it right now. In Tethered, you're basically a god, a deity that these little blue long-eared critters called peeps worship and summon. And the whole main point of this game is to gather as much of like the spirit energy as you can in order to complete the stage. And each stage has a certain amount of spirit energy that you have to collect in order to beat it. Now, in order to get there, you're going to have to build up your population of peeps, and you're going to have to keep them happy, give them things to do, and you have to fight off these slug type creatures that come around at night. So the cool thing about this game is you're giving kind of like this overhead view. And I think this works really good for VR, especially in real-time strategy games, so that you can kind of look down at the world beneath you and you can see what each peep is doing. And if you need to move around, instead of using like an analog stick to rotate around, you basically jump through clouds. There's certain clouds that are spread up all across the stage, and you press X when you're looking at the cloud, and you'll jump to that cloud and you'll get a different perspective. The main point is to, like in just about any other real-time strategy game, you need to harvest resources so that you can build things like barracks, build things like temples, build other buildings and structures that you could need in order to make the stage a little bit easier. You're going to have to gather food, and you're going to have to make sure that your peeps are not depressed. Because if they stand around, they're very needy. They're extremely needy. If they stand around for too long, they get sad and they get depressed and they get suicidal. And when they've reached that point of, I don't want to live anymore, they will walk like a shambling zombie towards a cliff and kind of look at you with these big sad eyes, and they'll just jump right off. Almost like, why have you forsaken me, O Lord? And they'll jump right off. It's kind of messed up. Don't be fooled. Looking at this game, it might look like oh, this is just a little kid's game and it's too colorful. And no, this game is actually pretty difficult. It's fast paced. It eases you in the tutorial, but then after that, you're like, go. You can't pause it and then do some other stuff and then say, when I unpause it, you guys select the actions that I just told you to do. It doesn't work like that. It works all in real time. I think that is the best example of a real-time strategy game on PlayStation VR right now, and is one of the best games on PlayStation VR right now. Now, is that going to be the same way in the future when we look 2-3 years back and we say, is Tethered still one of the best PlayStation VR games that there ever was? Probably not, but it's still a good game, especially this early on. And I want to see more real-time strategy games. Think about like this. Think about like XCOM, for example. What if there was an XCOM PlayStation VR experience? You already know how it's going to go. You are looking down at the field. You can control where your guys go. And then when you tell them to do something and they actually go to select an action and they go to shoot, what if everything just zoomed in a little bit and you can kind of move your head and go around, get different angles and perspectives? Something like XCOM will work perfectly on PlayStation VR. But XCOM VR, as far as we know, does not exist. But you know what does exist? This other game that I did a video about a while ago is called Tactera, and it's currently something that you can play on the Gear VR. It's like a real-time strategy game, but it is holographic. Everything is like grids and polygons. So it's kind of like, it's kind of like the Matrix kind of meets Tron, something like that. And it looks great on the Gear VR. Just imagine how that can look on PlayStation VR. It's simple. And I think the simple experiences is what makes virtual reality work right now in this day and age. You don't immediately have to say, hey, where's Skyrim for PlayStation VR? You don't have to jump that far ahead. It can just be nice, simple, easy experiences where the little things really help sell the product as a whole. Harmonix, for example, has a game called Harmonix Music VR, which some people looked at and said, like, oh, it's kind of like a Windows screensaver with music. But there's this one mode called Canvas mode that lets you paint the music. They give you some tools that using a move controller, you can select in different shapes and you just draw as the music is going. But the coolest thing about that is you can grab your drawing and you can rotate it smoothly. You can push it in and out so it has some depth calculations going on. And that was like one of the coolest things I experienced in PlayStation VR was being able to draw something and be like, hey, I'm going to draw this. I'm going to rotate it, move that here, do some drawing over here. I'm going to bring that over here. That is the closest that I've gotten to Minority Report in virtual reality. A game that's dedicated to something just like that. Draw and give you some depth movement, give you some awesome 3D rotation and stuff like that. That can really help sell the platform. Simple things, simple experiences, like in the Playroom VR, Robots Rescue is amazing. It's short, but it looks good. It's nicely animated, and it doesn't feel like they've tried to push the graphic boundaries too far and you can look at all the little imperfections. It doesn't work like that. It is smooth. It is beautiful. It's charming. And if a full game was like that, that would probably be the best game on PlayStation VR right now. So the whole point of this is just to say, starting off, if you're looking for where's the Call of Duty, where's the Battlefield, where's the Uncharted of PlayStation VR, we don't need that, at least not right now. Right now, what we need to do is just sell the platform, and we can do that through simple games like Job Simulator VR, like the experiences in the Playroom, like Tethered, even like Thumper, which can get pretty intense, but it's basically a pretty simple game. You're just going straight forward. You're pushing buttons when you need to push them. Simple experiences is what's going to sell this. You don't have to go all in with every feature that you could possibly think of crammed into this game. For right now, should you buy PlayStation VR? I would say try it first. Go to a demo station and try it out. If you see that you can't get over how unclear it could be for you, or how the resolution might be lower than what you're expecting, or if you just can't see that well through the headset, make sure you can actually endure the experience from motion sickness point of view. Make sure that you can actually see everything that's clear and make your decision from there. Now, right now, there are a lot of games out. Technically, number-wise, yes. But like I said, once you really start getting into it, you're going to start feeling like, where's the rest of it, man? I need more games. And we'll just have to wait for that to happen. And of course, it's expensive. If you want the core bundle, it's going to be $400. If you got the money to burn on this kind of thing, it is the cheapest and highest quality virtual reality experience that you can buy right now anywhere that is, not like powered by a mobile device. It is far less expensive than the Rift and the HTC Vive. Granted, it may not be up there in terms of quality and resolution and graphics and stuff, but then again, you don't have an extremely powerful PC making everything run. So is it worth it right now? I'm going to say just try it. For some people, yeah, it's totally worth it. For some, I can wait. I don't think that there's any harm in waiting, but I do think that if this continues to get supported and developers try something that's a little bit more simpler, go to a simpler approach, ease people in and show you at the most basic level what VR is really capable of, and not necessarily trying to jump into the crazy 60-hour experiences, then I think PlayStation VR is going to be in a good spot. I don't think that VR is a gimmick. I don't think that it's like 3D. I do think that there's some really useful applications to be had here, and time will tell whether or not it's actually going to amount to anything. So there you go. There's my thoughts on PlayStation VR. Thank you guys so much for watching. And until next time, I'm Jeremy, and I'll talk to you later.